Sticky Fishy Fishing.
Yo, what up guys? This is Sticky Fishy Fishing and it's time for another tackle talk. In this episode we're going to be talking about catching bream on lures, soft plastics and hard body lures. Okay guys, check it out. Alright guys, I'll run through the rods that I use for bream fishing. This one here is a Daiwa Hyper, 7'4", 1 to 3 kilo. Cast weight of 1 to 5 grams. I like using this 7'4" rod, just a little bit longer, helps cast those lighter plastics a little bit further. On that I have a Daiwa Ed 2,500 reel, and the braid I got on it is Sunline Siglon PE X8 in 6 pound. So that's what I use for plastic fishing, just this rod, 6 pound braid, and it's perfect for throwing plastics around. When I use the hard body lures, I use this setup. This rod here is a Extreme Tackle Tavia 7'2", 2 to 6 pound. This is good for throwing hard bodies, got a nice soft tip on it, so you can just wind those fish onto the lure. And on that I have a Shimano nasci 1000 reel, and instead of using braid I just use straight through fluorocarbon line, and on that I got 4 pound Vanish Ultra 2. I prefer to use the straight through fluorocarbon for hard body lure fishing. So that's the hard body setup. If you'd like to see me full collection of rod and reels, I'll leave a link in the description to the video I made just showing all the fishing gear that I have. Alright guys, let's get into some lures. Alright guys, we'll start off with some soft plastics. Some Berkley gulps is what I prefer to use, so we'll start off with the gulps. And I'll go in order with the gulps from the ones I like, from the bottom to the top. Alright, so the number 5 gulp that I like to use is a Berkley gulp minnow grub, 3-inch minnow grub. This is the black colour. Other good colours is camo, and my favourite colour is banana prawn. Here's one here, just a little 3-inch grub. I like to rig that up on a size 2 hook on a jig head. Anywhere from a 124 jig head to a 1/16 is the size I prefer to use. So that's the number 5 one I like to use for bream. It's also a good bass lure and flathead lure as well. My number 4 Berkley gulp is the 3-inch jigging shrimp in the swamp gas, which is a really good plastic. I've caught a lot of good size bream on this. This works really well, casting it just onto the edge of like rock walls that have got weed just off the edge. You just chuck it right on the edge of the weed, let it sink down. Bream think it's just a shrimp coming out the weed. Bang, you're on. There it is there. It's just a shrimp with a little grub tail. Try to rig it on as light a jig head as I can possible for the current, so it just slowly goes down and just wiggles away. So, and I also like to rig that on a size 2 jig head, anywhere from a 124 to a 116 jig head. Number 3 is the Berkley gulp 2-inch crabby. Works very well. This is in the camo colour. Good little lure, good for throwing around rock walls, anywhere that crabs hang around, oyster racks, stuff like that. Mostly around rock walls is where it works good. That's the crabby there. I like to rig that up on a size 2 hook or a size 4, just depending how stealth I want to go. If I only want a little bit of hook hanging out, I'll put it on a smaller jig head, but same weight jig head, 124 to 116. My number 2 favourite gulp is the 2-inch sandworm in the camo colour. This is one of the best gulps for bream. This works everywhere. You want to use this up on sand flats. It doesn't really matter where you use this, it works good, but mostly sand flats. Works good around rocks, patches of sand, weed. But I've used it everywhere and caught fish on it. I've also used it on a paternoster rig off the beach and caught bream and whiting on it. There it is there. It's a little worm. I like to rig up on a size 4 jig head with the same weight, 124 to 1/16. A great little plastic, that worm. And my number 1 Berkley gulp plastics are the 2-inch minnow grub in banana prawn. You can't beat these. These catch fish everywhere. Caught the most bream that I've ever caught on plastics on these. Other good colours is camo, black, pumpkin seed, but I like the banana prawn. And there it is there. That's rigged up on a size 4 jig head with a 1/24 weight. That's what I prefer to use. I like casting that around everywhere. Rock walls, weed edges, off break walls. I'll usually use that size jig head, but if there's a bit of current I'll go up to the 1/16 jig head. So yeah, that's my number 1 plastic out of every plastic that I use for bream. Some other plastics I like to use when I'm not using gulp. Gulp are my favourite, but I also use Z-Man. When I'm using gulp and I notice that they're just getting their tails bitten off them or destroyed, I'll go to a Z-Man because they're a bit more tougher. And I use the 2.5-inch motor oil grub, also in the bloodworm colour. The 2-inch grub in the motor oil. My favourite bream Z-Man has got to be this, the Z-Man Slim Swims in the 2.5-inch in motor oil. Caught some good bream on them. Another good colour is the bloodworm in the Slim Swims. Another good plastic that you might not have seen is Atomic Plazo. This is the 2-inch prong, Carolina pumpkin colour. That's an awesome colour. Just looks like a little shrimp. Works good on bream. Also good in the freshwater on bass, trout. And I've also caught a lot of carp on these, fishing up at Wyangler Dam. And here's an old school one for you. Berkley Power Bait, 2-inch grub in the bloodworm colour. You don't see them very often, but they do work good. When I'm using Berkley lures, because they already come scented in the packet, once they start to wear off a little bit, I usually rub a bit of this Berkley gulp gel on there just to recharge them up. Also works good on the other lures, the Z-Mans and stuff like that don't come scented. Some other good scent is the sack scent. I've got a few flavours in this that works good. I've got crab, bloodworm and golden prawn, which sort of covers every basic flavour that you need for fishing for bream. Bream love prawns, bloodworms and crabs, so that's a bit of scent that I use. Here's some jig heads I like to use. The Berkley Sniper 1/20th in a size 6 hook. Berkley Sniper 1/16th in a size 2 hook. Atomic Seeker, very good jig head. That's a size 4 hook in a 1/24th Oz. Some other jig heads I like to use is this little one here. That kink hook, it's called a sickle hook. Love to use those. They're sort of like a circle hook of a jig head. Always hook them in the corner of mouth. They're a good little hook. If you want to go stealth and have no weight on the front of your plastic, you want some of these TT hidden weight jig heads, which are an awesome jig head. So then you just got the weight hidden in the plastic. Alright, let's run through some leaders that I like to use when I'm fishing for bream. When I first get to a spot and I fish it, I always start with a 6-pound leader in case the bream are biting and there's big bream there. I'll go a 6-pound leader in the 6-pound sunline siglon FC, which is good, or the Berkley Vanish Ultra 2 in 5 pound. I'll either start with the 6 or the 5, and then if I find that there's no fish there, I'll go down to a 4 pound leader in the Berkley Vanish Ultra 2 if the fish are a bit timid, or the Sunline, I'll fish a 4 pound. Sometimes that helps get the bite, and then if I can't catch nothing of that and I get real desperate to catch a fish, and this is when you're getting dangerous, I go down to 3 pound leader Vanish Ultra 2, and I always use 6 pound braid. So I go 6 pound braid, 6 pound leader. If I don't get nothing, I go down to 4 pound leader. If I don't get nothing, I'll go down to 3 pound leader, and hopefully that gets me a bite. I like to use like a 2 rod lengths a leader is what I prefer to use, so I just keep that lure further away from the braid. I like to use 2 lengths a leader. If the fish are real picky, you can go up to 3 or 4 lengths a leader. Sometimes you can just use 1 rod length a leader and catch them, but I usually just start with 1.5 to 2 rod lengths, and then if they're real picky, you can actually go a bit longer, and sometimes that does help get the bites. So that's the leader that I use. Oh, another good leader that I use is uni ticker. That's real strong. If you're fishing some gnarly ground, you want to fish that triple core uni ticker. Get a chance to rip them out the snags. Alright guys, here's some of the hard body lures. Pretty good collection of hard body lures. A few blades there. Surface lures. Bit of everything. Shallow divers, mid divers, deep divers. But I'll run through some of the ones that I like to use most. What I like to use is, well, my number 1 favourite hard body is the Atomic Crank 38 in the deep ghost gill brown colour. That lure catches fish everywhere. It's not very often you go out using that and you do not catch a fish. They're a great little lure, them Atomics. They work awesome. I like to use that around rock bars and weed and stuff, and I like to dive it down and actually bounce it off rocks, then let it float up, wind it, let it hit the bottom, float up. Even when it gets caught in a bit of weed and you flick it out, a lot of times big brim will smash them. Another lure that I've caught lots and lots of brim on is the FB 35. This one here, this purple one, I actually caught my biggest brim on a hard body lure on this one, which was 43 centimeters. In the most gnarliest ground you could catch a brim. They work awesome, them little shallow ones. You just slow roll them over top of rock bars, weed beds and stuff like that, and they get smashed. Another good colour in the FB35 is black. That colour there works awesome. Most of the colours in them work good. That's actually a deep diver. That's a FB35D there with the deeper bib. And then that's the shallow one. Another good lure is the Berkley Fat Dog. They're a good little hard body lure. That's in the deep model. This one here is a Berkley Puppy Dog. It's an awesome looking prawn little lure. I've actually caught some good whiting on that. Low rolling it over shallow sand flats, especially in dirty water. The whiting seem to smash it. Surface lure for brim. You want one of these. This is the MMD Splash Prawn. Bream absolutely go ballistic over these things. I was using this up at the canals on the Gold Coast, and Bream and Trevally were just smashing it. This works awesome, even around where I live. You chuck it right up in the mangroves and you just pop it out the mangroves over the shallow weed. It's also a good lure for whiting too on the flats. Whiting love it. Really good. Yeah, so that's the MMD Splash Prawn. So there's a few hard bodies I like to use. I've actually got heaps here. Like, I could go through them all day. I've got heaps of other surface lures like your sugar pens that also work good for your brim, which are good. Metal Vibes, They're good if you're fishing deep water for bream. Just chuck them down, just bounce them off the bottom, puff up the sand along them deep edges. You'll get bream on. I've only ever caught a few bream on vibes, but I don't use them that much for bream. I more use them for bass and yellow belly. But how I like to use these, I usually just use a shallow or a deep diver. The shallow diver, like that one, I'll use like in anywhere from a foot of water to a metre of water. Just casting it over like top of rocky oyster bars, around oyster racks, over weed beds and stuff like that. Just shallow water, like any kind of structure. Just all I do is just chuck it out and I just slowly wind it back. No pauses, twitches or anything like that, just a consistent slow roll. And then the deeper diver lures, I'll just use them around deeper water from like 1 metre to 2 metres of water. Just where it's a bit deeper and you need to get down there a bit closer to the bottom, I'll go to the deep one. But I've actually used this in like 1/2 metre water and caught fish just bouncing it along the bottom over the top of sand and stuff like that, hitting over the top of rocks and caught fish. But the same thing, I just chuck it out and just slowly wind in. It's the most basic easy fishing ever for Bream hard body lures. You just throw it out and then you just slowly wind it back, and then you just throw it back out and slowly wind it back in. And when I fish hard body lures, I usually just use straight through fluorocarbon on a fishing reel. I like to use 4-pound fluorocarbon straight through. You can use braid and leader, but I just like the stretch of just having the straight fluorocarbon so you don't pull the trebles out of the fish's mouth. And I seem to catch more fish too. And you can also rub some scent on top of those too if you want to help you catch fish. But yeah, that's about it. Oh, here's some other good hard bodies too that you can get from Tournament Tackle. I'll leave the link in the description below if you're after some of these. These are like $10 each. They're an awesome little hard body. Caught bream on these. Here's some other ones there. And also a little crab, which is sort of like a cranker crab. They're also good on bream. Okay guys, that's about it. Oh yeah, I want to show you something actually. See this here, this is a UV torch from Hooky Mouth Tackle. I'll leave the link in the description below if you want one of these. Charge up flasher rigs and they're good for looking at lures. Check this out. If you've got a lure with UV paint on it, see that purple one there? Watch. Look at that. You can see that bottom orange glowing. You take it off. It's good to use to see which lures you got a UV because they work real good. What else have we got here? This black one's been painted with UV paint. It's awesome. Look at the orange on that glowing. Watch this orange. Look at that. Look how bright that is. They work awesome. Yeah, UV ones. Pretty good. Let's have a look at the tonic and see how much UV that's got in it. It's got a little bit of UV in the bottom, but not much in the top. That one's got some UV along the bottom of it. See what the splash prawn is. No UV paint on the splash prawn. These ones here off Tournament Tackle, where I get all my lures, my Taylor lures and all that stuff that you see me use. These ones have got UV. I'll leave a link in the description to the Tournament Tackle website. Go on there and check it out. Good lures for a good price. So yeah, if you want a UV torch, I'll leave the link in the description. Alright guys, that's about it. If you like this video, hit the like button, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Cheers.
Sticky Fishy Fishing.